Hi everyone, my name is Katy and thank you for joining me for another reading journal video. Today we will be doing my monthly update in my reading journal for the month of March, so let's get started. As always, I am starting out by filling out the beginning pages of my reading journal. And the first spread that I am filling out is my little bookshelves for the year. I am also showing off this little color key that I had made to help me remember which markers to use when filling out this spread and all of the different spreads throughout the beginning parts of the journal. This makes it a lot easier to remember which colors and which markers specifically I'm supposed to use. This month I had a good spread of 3, 4, and 5 stars, so I am just filling out those colors accordingly. The next spread I'm updating is my Zodiac favorite. My Pisces favorite was The Prisoner's Throne. And then I'm moving on to fill out a few of my trackers, and I'm filling in some of my series progress that I've made, as well as my book bingo. And moving on, I'm filling out my monthly stats. This spread I'm so excited to see all filled out. I really like tracking my different reading stats this way, so I'm just going ahead and doing that. And then I skipped ahead to my Year of Adventure little spread, and I'm filling out the March book, which was 10,000 Stitches. And that is it for the beginning pages, and we're moving on to my monthly spread. So the first thing I need to do is fill out the stats on my cover page. And I love how this cover page looks with all of the greens and the sheep. I love it. And now moving on to the book reviews. So the first book that I read this month was Well Met, and this is a contemporary romance set at a Renaissance festival. That sounded like a great setup for me. Every year I go to the Ren Fest where I live, and I really love Ren fairs. But unfortunately, something about this just didn't connect with me. They were just frustratingly not communicating at all. So that one was unfortunately a 2-star for me. I'm not sure if I'll continue in the series. If I do, it won't be until I really feel called to read contemporary romance again, which isn't very often. The second book that I read this month was Throne of Glass, and I had soft DNF'd this a couple times before, but for whatever reason, I wanted to power through it this month, I guess, and I did a whole spread for the first 3 books in this series later on, so we'll talk about them later, but I gave this one a 3.5 stars. Then I read The Stolen Heir, which was a reread in anticipation for the release of The Prisoner's Throne. And again, I did a whole spread for both of these books, and just spoilers, I absolutely loved them, and I loved rereading The Stolen Heir this month. Then I read Radiance, which again, unfortunately just didn't work for me. I couldn't connect to it. It is loved by a lot of people and regarded as very, very good fantasy romance, but I just didn't buy it. At the beginning, our 2 characters think each other are ugly, and I really couldn't get past that. Also, it's kind of structured, kind of like how Legends and Lattes is, where each chapter you're introduced to this challenge, and they need to solve the challenge by the end of the chapter, and it felt way too cozy for me to be feeling the romance, and just overall it did not work for me. The main character was super naive and it just wasn't for me. I don't think I will be continuing in this series. And then I read Crown of Midnight, which you can refer to my words about Throne of Glass as far as my feelings about this, but I gave this one a 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. And flipping the page to move on to the next 3 books, I read From Blood and Ash, which I gave a 3 stars. I was pleasantly surprised by this. I think the series gets more and more smutty as it goes on, so I'm not sure if I will continue with it, but the setup and the world building I thought was interesting, and some of it was a bit predictable, but I really had a fun time reading it. It definitely was a turn your brain off kind of read, so that was all right. And then I went into 10,000 Stitches, which is the second Regency fairy tale by Olivia Atwater, and I didn't like this one as much as Half a Soul, but I did really like it, especially the beginning, and I did do a spread for this one as well. And then the last book of the month was Heir of Fire, which was another Throne of Glass book, and I gave this one a 4 stars as well. Okay, so moving on to our spreads. The first spread I did was a 1-pager for 10,000 Stitches, and I love how this one turned out. I'm using this amazing washi tape by Simply Gilded, and I love the deep blues and navies mixed with the pinks, and of course all of the books. And then I paired that with these Cinderella stickers by Artimation, which I will have all of these shops and everything linked in my description down below. "10,000 Stitches" is a fairy retelling kind of Cinderella, but in a completely new and fresh way. We have a housemaid who really wants to fall in love with a gentleman and be a lady, and there's one specific gentleman that she works for that she's just head over heels for, and she ends up enlisting the help of this kind of quirky fairy lord to help her get his attention and win his favor. But in the deal, she promises to stitch 10,000 stitches into the lord's coat in 1 year. Now, along the way, she realizes that maybe this marriage to this man that she has a crush on is not really what she wants, and it was really cute. I really liked the beginning of it, but then toward the end, I was kind of like waiting for it to all wrap up. And it took a little while to do that, so that's why it was a 4-star and not a 5-star for me. But I really love Olivia Atwater's writing, and her fairies that she creates are very fun and goofy and very not like humans. Especially our Lord Blackthorn, is intrigued by humans, does not quite understand them, and is doing all of these things to try to understand them. And that was just an interesting concept to me. Overall, I enjoyed this one, and I think that this spread is absolutely gorgeous. Again, I love the colors, and I'm just super happy with how it all turned out. Moving on to the next spread, I did a double spread for The Stolen Heir and The Prisoner's Throne, both by Holly Black. This is a duology. I read The Stolen Heir right away when it came out early last year, and The Prisoner's Throne was definitely one of my most anticipated books of this year, and it did not disappoint. I love everything about Elfhame, the world, the fairy world where Holly Black's fairy stories take place, and I had a lot of fun rereading The Stolen Heir in preparation for The Prisoner's Throne. So I don't want to spoil too much, obviously, because The Prisoner's Throne is a sequel, but the setup is this is kind of a spin-off from Folk of the Air or the Cruel Prince series. We are following the brother of the main character in The Cruel Prince, and he is now grown up. He's like 17, I believe, and he's the prince and isn't a child anymore, how you saw him in the Cruel Prince books. So it's following him. His name is Oak. And then it is also following Ren, who is the princess who was treated just absolutely awfully. And you saw her be treated terribly in the Cruel Prince books. And you don't really know too much about her. It's kind of mysterious what she's been through and her whole story, and she has a lot of trauma, you find out in the first book, The Stolen Heir. In that first book, you are in Ren's point of view, living in the human world. She's escaped the fairy world, and she is actually kind of like a changeling and has a lot of allegiance to her human family and has a lot of guilt surrounding her human family, so she's kind of staying around the human world, but Oak comes and basically tells her, you need to help me go on this quest, and so they do. And the first book is very much so structured like a quest. They move from one objective to the next objective. It kind of feels like a D&D campaign, honestly, and I really liked that about it. And we also get to learn more about Ren and see her trauma. And I always love that in books, obviously. She's a very complex character. She's not a very likable character, honestly, which I think Holly Black does really well and something I really appreciate about her books, especially because they are YA. But then The Prisoner's Throne follows Oak's point of view. We are picking up basically directly after The Stolen Heir ends, and we've learned a lot about Ren, and there's a lot of questions and conflicts that need to be solved and answered. And in The Prisoner's Throne, Oak does his best to fix things or, to make things better. And we end up back in Elfhame, and we get to see some of the characters from the Folk of the Air series. We get to see our favorites, Jude and Cardan from The Cruel Prince. And we also get a tease of more books in the series, potentially dealing with the sea folk of Elfhame, which we kind of got to see in The Wicked King, the second book of the Folk of the Air series. Overall, I just had a fun time with the duology. It is definitely something where you need to read the original series before you read both of these books, and I'm sure if you haven't read the original series, you're like, girl, what are you even talking about? So I apologize for that. But overall, let's talk about the spread here. I am using some character art that I got from a couple different artists that, again, I'll have on the screen here as well as in the description below. And I am using some of the most beautiful lavendery, foresty, airy washi tapes from Simply Gilded. I absolutely love how this beautiful bluey, purpley scene all came together. One of my favorite things about Holly Black's writing is how she describes the scenery and the world around you. And especially in the first book, The Stolen Heir, she really makes you feel cold. So I kind of wanted to bring that in here with all of the cool tones. So overall, I loved these books and I really loved how this spread turned out. Okay, moving on to the final spread of the month, I read the first 3 books in the Throne of Glass series. No, I did not read Assassin's Blade yet. I am doing some order I found on the internet as far as reading goes. These were fun. Again, these were books where I just kind of turned my brain off and enjoyed the journey. The first book, it was her debut, and you can see that. Some of it's very weird, but I enjoyed being at court. I always enjoy balls and trials and being at court, so of course I enjoyed those things. The second book, I really liked being in the library and everything that happens in the tower and, having riddles to solve and all of that. Those are really fun aspects of the second book that I enjoyed. And then the third book, everything changes. At the end of the second book, you learn things about the main character and about the world and about everything that just completely changes the whole series. And then in the third book, you really see that. You get so many new characters and so much more lore and story building, world building, just so much. You're in a whole new place, so there's a lot of set dressing and everything. So that just felt like a completely different series. As I understand it, the rest of the books will feel more like that, and it will just continue to grow and explode from there. So overall, I will continue the series. It's not like a favorite of mine, but I think it's good. Yeah. Let's talk about the stationery though. I am using this absolutely amazing dragon mountainscape washi tape that I just got off of an Etsy shop, and I am so obsessed with it. I love it so much. I'm going to have to restrain myself from using it every time I read anything with any kind of dragon. And then I added in 2 stickers of 2 of the characters, Aelin on the left there, and then Manon on the right. They both look super cool. Those are from the artist Coralie Renards. And then I added in some little fairy books and accents from Mushyworks, her bookish collection that she did. Again, I'm happy with how this turned out. I love using character art whenever I can, and again, I'm so obsessed with this washi tape. Okay, so moving on, we are setting up my April cover page. Now I filmed this at the beginning of April. I know it is the end of April when I am posting this, but work and life and traveling and all that made this a very, very busy month for me. But I am putting together a adorable pink Sakura reading spread for my April cover. And as always, I just made my cover page have the little title, April Books, a little bookshelf for all of my reads of the month, and then a few stats, my books read, pages read, average rating, and my favorite book of the month. So I am just using these amazing stickers by Marigona Suli Art, and then the Sakura washi tape from Notebook Therapy. I, of course, added in accents of the different book stickers, the one with the little skeletons I absolutely love, as well as the little kitty with the book. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching and waiting and being just the best. I am so appreciative of all of the support on all of my recent videos. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this one, be sure to leave a like and a comment down below. And if you'd like to see more from me, be sure to hit subscribe. I hope that you and yours are staying safe, happy, and healthy, and I will see you again next time. Thanks again. Bye-bye.